Hey everybody, Nick here, and I got a review for you today that's kind of a long time in coming. So one of my very first reviews was this little guy. This is the Electroless nickel pen from Prometheus Writes. This is the same Jason Hui guy who does the Prometheus Alpha flashlight. He did the top that I reviewed some time back, probably the last top I'm going to review. Sorry, Skelton's got that whole thing covered. And also makes these pens. And so I've had this pen for a couple of years now, and I really like it. It's very, very nice, and, you know, it takes a beautiful refill and whatnot. And actually, I've got a review up already, although it was one of my very first reviews, so it's kind of crappy. But nonetheless, sometime back when they finally became available again, after looking for one on the secondary market for a long time, I picked up a titanium version of it. And today I would like to talk a little bit about that. So first, the size comparison. Here is just your boring Bic kind of pen. Here is your Pilot G2, missing the refill at the moment. And here is your Spyderco Delica for a tradition. So you can see that none of these pens are huge. They're about the same size as the Clicky without the click. That's a strange sentence you got there. But anyways, so let's just go ahead and jump into the good, the bad, and the ugly of this particular pen. All right, let's talk about your good here. First and foremost, the good on both of these pens, and I'm going to really talk about both of them because my first review wasn't that great, but, you know, I'll make distinctions where I need to. One of the best things is that the construction is very straightforward. So on the cap piece, you've got a little bolt here that holds the clip together, and that's it. So you got three pieces there. Here, you've got the little thing that holds the insert, and then a piece of metal here. No springs, no spacers, none of that. And then inside here, you've got your refill and your top. And the nice thing here is that you can see the refill is actually threaded. So there's no springs, there's no nothing. It's just held in place very nicely. So that means that if you're the kind of person who likes to take pens apart during meetings and things like that, this is very nice because there are no springs that go flying everywhere, things like that. That's the case for both of them. Very, very nice. And I love that simple construction. Makes it much harder to hurt, which is a good thing. The refills it takes are spectacular. It takes Montblanc refills, either the Fineliner cartridge, which is this guy here, which is kind of like a felt tip, so you can write with very little effort. I mean, I'm just going to kind of hold this against the paper, and it's still writing like a charm. Or you can use a rollerball cartridge. The Fineliner is great for pointillist sketching. That's where you use a bunch of points to, or also just for everyday writing. See, writing. And, you know, so that's nice. The only thing that Fineliner really sucks for is carbon paper, but that's becoming less and less common these days, and you can always use rollerball for that. But either way, either of those cartridges write a hell of a lot better than your little Bics, than your Pilot G2, and certainly way better than your Space Pen, which is a great EDC tool, but not a very good pen. So that's something to keep in mind. The cap here is sealed, so the ink doesn't dry out. Beautiful thing. And especially on the titanium, the finish is really nice. It's a kind of stone-washed, tumbled finish, which gives it a layer of durability. For instance, the Electroless nickel I've scratched up a couple of times. You know, I'm going to try and kind of rotate this here, and maybe you'll see it, but maybe you won't. At the very least, like, okay, right here, there's a little ding. Hopefully you can see that's just come from putting it in my pocket with my keys and things like that. This guy I can throw in the toolbox, and it's no freaking concern. It's going to be just fine, which is nice. The clip is also very nice. It's just simple. Little chunk of titanium there, and if it bends too far, you just flip it around, use this nut to hold it, bend it again, and there you go. It's back to, like, new. Beautiful thing. I love the weight on the titanium because this guy here is a little too light in my hand. It just doesn't have that kind of heavy quality feel that I love. It might be more comfortable for writing huge periods of time, but I prefer this guy. And honestly, I like the balance a little bit better on the titanium. It just sits in my hand a little nicer. So I'm a big fan of the weight of the titanium, but neither of them are that heavy. It's something like, well, here, let's find out, shall we? It's not a huge difference in the least. So you've got, let's see here, 1.67 ounces versus 1.17, and that compares to 0.16 or 17 here for your Bic. So they're both heavier than your Bic pens, but I do prefer the weight on the titanium. It makes it a little nicer. The titanium particularly is hugely durable, although the Electroless is pretty much too. I mean, this is a pen that is probably actually mightier than the sword because it's just absolutely, you cannot kill this thing. I mean, I would have no hesitation using this to ram in a part or something like that I was having trouble, getting to move. It's very, very nice in that way. There's no real concern about injuring this pen. And so that's a nice thing. Another thing I'd like to point out is that it's very much not tactical. A lot of the EDC pens that you see out there, like ZT makes some ones that are interesting, but they've got unnecessary points that'll stab you in the leg or something like that. But this guy, I mean, even if it, against my leg is not going to hurt me particularly. I mean, I'm sure if you were to hit somebody with it, they wouldn't be thrilled about the experience. But it's not, stabby in the sense that it'll be stabbing you in your pocket most of the damn time. And the other thing is that this is just a pen. The TSA has actual regulations about tactical pens. Sometimes they take them, sometimes they don't. I've traveled with, actually, this guy a bunch of times, and they've never said a damn word because it's a freaking pen. And it doesn't look tactical. It's not, Invader on the side of it or anything like that. It's just a freaking pen. And so I love that. The fact that this is a very durable pen, but it doesn't look so freaking tactical that I can't take it out in a meeting. So that's a beautiful thing. And that I can't bring it on an airplane, for that matter. Beautiful thing. It's very smooth. The action, the threading is nice. It's a little bit nicer on the Electroless. That may just be a function of having owned this for longer and worn it in better. But that's a good thing. Both of these are made in the USA. This guy was made by Jason Hui, the Prometheus guy himself, and this guy is made by a machinist buddy of his. And, overall, the titanium is a very, very nice pen, as is the nickel. They're just great in that particular way, and I do prefer the titanium to the nickel because of the extra weight and because of the nicer finish, for that matter. So, I mean, there's your good. Simple construction, which is really durable and not super tactical. Takes great refills, so it writes really nicely. The titanium's got a great finish. The nickel's got a very pretty finish. And they're both smooth, like crazy. So that's a beautiful thing. Let's go on to the bad, because sadly there's a bit of bad here. All right, first, one bad thing that I'm not sure is entirely bad. They're no longer made in-house. That is, Jason Hui is no longer making each of these pens individually. You can see that on this guy you've got his maker's mark, versus on this guy you've just got a company generic maker's mark. He let us know about this before he shipped units for the pre-order, gave us a chance to back out, and this is the same machine shop that's making his ready-made lights, so it's still made in the USA. But, I'm honestly a little bit, I don't know. One of the reasons I buy Jason Hui's stuff is because he is retentive about quality control, things like that, and I see that slipping a little bit. For instance, the logo on the bottom of this guy is actually a little bit off-center. It's not bad, and it's probably not something you'd notice at an immediate glance, but it's enough that I kind of looked at it and went, oh, somebody didn't spend enough time there. And that's a really retentive thing to get bent out of shape about, but it shows the difference. This guy, the maker's mark, is perfectly centered. This guy, it's not. And so these are being made by somebody who gives less of a damn, which is, really no good. And the price didn't change accordingly. If he dropped the price down to $200, like, okay, yeah, you make them wherever the hell you need to, Jason, but I'm not getting something that says handmade anymore, or at least not made with as much care. So that's a bad thing. There is no mechanism to lock the cap on these pens, which is one of the few things I dislike about the design. You can give it a little bit of an extra twist, and that'll kind of hold it, but especially if you've got it like in your pants pocket, after a while it can shake itself loose. And a couple of times now I've had, I've looked down to see a big blue splotch in my pocket there. And, it washes right out because it's water-based ink, but still, not ideal. And that actually makes even worse one of the changes here. When they went to the new manufacturer, I actually emailed Jason about this. So on this guy, it actually takes fewer revolutions to screw and unscrew the cap on than it does on the Electroless nickel. And I was feeling awful crazy, so I emailed Jason, and he confirmed that, yeah, in the newer outside-of-house-made ones, the number of threads varies a little bit more, and it can be many fewer. And I got one that has fewer threads, and that's kind of rough, because this was already a problem, and now it's even more of an issue. Titanium, luckily, it's a little bit stickier, so if you really crank it down, it's harder to kind of unbreak it, but still, that's a little less than ideal. And then finally, the other bad thing is that particularly the titanium pen is not terribly attractive. I mean, it's a tool. It belongs on the job site rather than in the boardroom. I've had people ask me, oh, that's an interesting pen. See, note that adjective there? Where'd you get it? I said, oh, a machinist in California makes it. Oh, yeah, that looks like a machinist made it. Bazing. But nonetheless, I mean, I don't really give a damn because of the durability. It's worth it to me. But if you want something that's going to be more conventionally attractive, this screams fancy, this screams tool. So you got to keep that in mind there too. So there's your bad. In terms of your ugly, oh boy. There's only one real ugly issue with this pen, the Prometheus Writes in titanium, and that's the price. They want $240 for this. And that's really ugly. I mean, this guy was $155, which was already towards the top end. $240 is a lot of money, 100%. And I'm not entirely convinced by that price. So actually, let's just go on into the final conclusions here. You know, I'm honestly torn here. Because, functionally speaking, this guy, particularly the titanium, is absolutely a gem. It's a great writer, it's got a great weight, great durability, great clip, great materials, absolutely stellar materials. And it's way better than the electronickel. I mean, I've carried the electronickel exactly once since I got the titanium, and that was on a day I was a little more dressed up. You know, it's a great, great pen, 100%. And I love it, and I carry it, and I don't regret buying it. But at the same time, every time I think about the price, I feel like I took the shaft. It's just not a good thing. And it's just, I can't feel good about that value. And so that's kind of where I land on this, is that it is a functional gem, but in terms of value, it just ain't there. So at $150, I'd be calling this a shining gem. I would be shouting this from the damn rooftops. My neighbors would be calling the homeowners association or whatnot. And at $200, this would be a solid gem. I'd recommend it completely. Go get it now. Damn it. But at $240, I just don't know. The value just ain't there. And so my verdict on this guy is that you should pick one up used if you can, because they do come up, and especially now that they're being made more often, they're going to show up used more often. And if you are able to get it at a good price, you're going to be head over heels freaking in love with this. It's a great thing. And also, if you're watching this and you're thinking, oh, God, I love that, I need one of those right now, just go ahead and order it. The price isn't so bad that you're going to hate yourself for it later. But, you know, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that this is $240 worth of pen. I just can't. I owe you guys better than that. So it's a tough review to give because I love it, but I just can't recommend it widely at that price. I mean, that's my final verdict. For you, if you're looking at this and thinking, oh, that sounds about right price-wise, then go ahead and do it. If you're thinking, oh, God, that's really steep, then don't do it. And, you know, to this end, I'm going to be looking into some more non-tactical, tough, everyday carry sorts of pens. And, you know, I'd love some suggestions from you guys in the comments. If you can think of something, and ideally that takes a good writing cartridge. Fisher Space Pen, not so much, but like G2, Pilot G2, or Montblanc, something like that. Those are the ones I'm really interested in. But something I can throw in the pocket. So I'm going to try and do more reviews here to find the shining, sparkling gem that this could have been at a better price. But in the meantime, I'm probably still going to be carrying this guy. So it's complicated, as always, but thank you very much. I hope I have done the right thing in this review, and that you guys have yourselves a wonderful rest of your day.